Speaker, and to all of those up in the gallery. I wouldn't call you a crowd, really. I think there's much more significance that you bring to be with us here today, probably in Opi. But to those of Te Arawa, Tuwharetoa and Raukawa, welcome and thank you for coming and making this journey yet again to share with us in the House, who are just doing the bidding of drafting legislation and getting it towards the House, but also bringing your stories, your history, your past with us. And we share your presence here today. Thank you for being here. It's actually my pleasure to be here because the Honourable Parikura Horomia and Marion Street are unable to be here today, so I got the privilege of being here for the third reading speech and also able to congratulate the Minister and the Chair for bringing this to this end today. I think the Minister has embarked on a new approach with treaty settlements, picking up on the legacy after Michael Cullen, which was at the end of our time in government, but in this case begun by the Honourable Margaret Wilson very early in our 9 years in governance. But this legislation today is really very significant. It's not just another settlement coming before the House, because I think this settlement today signals a new way of working. There are very complex structures that have been able to be woven together here with the co-governance framework and also some of the conservation and fisheries component that are woven into making this a much more enduring and sustainable settlement. And those issues in themselves actually created quite a challenge for us in government, and my involvement was very contemporary in 2008, when I want to acknowledge Lady Raiha Mahuta coming to see me as a pretty new Minister of Conservation, desperate to get this done. She must have known then that her time with us wouldn't be for long, but she wanted to get this moved, and it was a thrill to have the deed of settlement signed in 2008, and then the Honourable Chris Finnison picking this up in 2009. And it's not bad that we're here in 2010 with the third reading speech, and I congratulate not the speed but the knitting together of the complexities of this bill that we're here today. One of the things I want to talk about is the co-governance framework, and I think there are very exciting aspects here yet to be tested, as I heard my colleagues mention in the House. We've just had the local body council elections, and so there are going to be new councillors on this journey, on the regional councils and on the local authorities that won't understand about co-governance. They've got a lot to learn about partnership, they've got a lot to learn about listening, they've even got a lot to learn about the histories. They need to go back to the storytelling, so tell them the story so they understand the journey, because we've got a big future ahead of us here, and I urge those that are going to manage this forward to embrace those new councillors, because they won't understand the complexity of this legislation. Also in here are iwi environmental management plans, and it was sad for us. I remember Nanaia Mahuta bringing forward a members' bill that we felt very strongly about, the importance of having an iwi environmental management plan, and it was defeated in this House. But this approach with this settlement today is really, if only we had iwi environmental management plans, this settlement process would be so much easier to proceed through. There's going to be regulations about fishing. There's a conservation component which has the status of conservation management plan, and I think that is wonderful to see that the Department of Conservation, that I think I saw needed to understand the role of kaitiakitanga of the land and of the environment, reflected in this statute today, and I'm sure that DOC are now learning from this process that will help strengthen future treaty settlement processes about we are all guardians of the land, and DOC is really a guardian of the land for the people and has to have an integral part of trust and an enduring relationship with iwi to make those work for the future. So what a pity iwi environmental management plans aren't a thing of the House, which they could have been for all regions around the country. But there is another powerful a component of the co-governance framework, and that is the protection of species. And I heard our Green colleague David Clendon mention about the loss of biodiversity, both along the streams of the Waikato and in the freshwater. Freshwater eel is endangered, coda, whitebait, and it is absolutely vital that when we see that aquatic life come back to life, then the authority will have done its job. And I hope we can see that in our time. And I'm sure we will, because they want to make this work. So this is a very new approach. And I worry a little bit about the treaty settlement process trying to come to an end by 2014, because I think there are new components that we learn with each treaty settlement. Here's the Waikato, and I'm very pleased that they've actually got a fund, a clean-up fund. We didn't manage to achieve that in our Te Arawa Lake settlement. We wanted it. We got a quantum, but we have more work to do about cleaning up our lakes. That are also, three of them, part of the tributary into the Waikato. So that was a new learning, and that's reflected in this bill, and I think that's very significant. So, Mr Speaker, what a pleasure it is to be here today. It's sort of the end of a journey. I saw from the chair of the Waikato Iwi Trust, Roger Paikea, mentioned in his press release today that this journey was begun by a kaumātua Heretaunga and 54 others in 1895. Bit of a journey, isn't it? But what a learning that here we are in 2010 settling a grievance about the degradation that has happened both to the people but also to the Māori of the mighty Waikato River, and we are pleased to be giving our support to this bill today.